Hello everybody, it's Lennon, and today I want to talk about devotion. Now, this video, because I keep going back to a particular Instagram post from a few months ago, and I keep reading all the new comments, and it wasn't even a long post, okay, but the question that they provided the audience was profound. Okay, this person. And so, the post, I'm not gonna go into like who this person is or what that post actually said. I'm just gonna give you a breakdown. Basically, it was about conflicting spiritualities, I think is, okay? In a nutshell, this person has an altar dedicated to, like, the Mother Mary, right? And then, sometimes, they want to be able to throw the ruins. Right? And at first, I was like, oh man, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? And I think everyone most people in the comment section stopped right there. A lot of the comments that I read were like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter this, it doesn't matter that. Devotion equals devotion, you know. Spirituality is in here, it doesn't matter what you use, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I think those people stopped there, but there was more to that question. And even I answered, I commented on that as well and said the exact same thing, like that I believe, basically, my comment was, you know, devotion is sacred to you, it's special to you, and if you want to use however many things you need to get it done, okay, because devotion is something you stick with, right? Then that's okay, right? So I even answered it the same way, like I stopped right there. But because I keep going back to this, and because I'm so, the comments and what people say is like so resonating, okay? It just, that whole post just seems to be vibrating for me, and it keeps calling me back. And after so many months, I reread it, okay? And it says, what do you do with the abundance of energy? Like the conflictedness of spirituality, religion, and all that. And I think what they were getting at, okay, I do, and now looking back, okay, I don't necessarily think that they were asking if it's okay. The fact that they have stuff for the Mother Mary and ruins, just having it is already telling me, well, then they're okay with it. So maybe that's not the essence of the question. Maybe it was about if you've got a whole altar set up to this deity / archetype, whatever, however you work with it. And then one day you wake up and you're like, you know, I'm feeling want to, you know, get the Elder Futhark out. And I think what they were getting at is, what do you do when you throw some ruins down on a picture of Mother Mary? And you just get, and I'm envisioning, like I'm visualizing this like in my imagination, like this altar just blows up all these rays of light, right? And it's just like shards everywhere. And you can't even do your practice that day because you're just bombarded. Maybe you get overloaded with a headache, right? Or maybe your heart starts racing, okay? I'll give you an example of like what happened to me with this exact thing. As soon as it hit me, it was like an epiphany, right? I had this visualization of this altar blowing up these shards of light, and I thought, this has actually happened to me before. This is probably what they're asking. What do we do with the excess energy, right? And so, it's funny to me because after reading this post, reading the comments so many times, keep going back to it for some reason or another, I just felt drawn to come on here and talk about it. Talk about devotion in general, spirituality in general, and the fact that we do get overloaded. There can be an overabundance of energy, right? That happens to me all the time. When I say you wake up and you're like feeling really well. Just, man, I had a good night's sleep. And you feel really prepared to go and put forth a whole bunch of crap, you know, in your spiritual practice. You're like, you know what? I'm going to sit here for a whole hour today. And you get there and you're 10 minutes in, you're meditating or whatever, and your eyes are closed, and the next thing you know, you're snoring. It's just... Now, I'm not saying that it happens all the time like that. Usually I'm pretty good about sticking with it, okay? But there have been times where, you know, you sit down because you're so prepared. You think you're so prepared emotionally. You think you're so prepared mentally. And then you get there and all of a sudden your heart starts racing. You're like, wait a minute, am I having a panic attack right now? Because it does feel like that. Your heart starts racing and your hands get all cold. And you're as we get older, okay, we're like, am I having a heart attack? And I've learned over the years that when that happens to me, I have to literally get up out of devotional time. Go sit and not think about that. Maybe I'll come back to it later. Maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, whatever. I try not to obsess about it, but you know, that's not easy. And that sometimes happens, right? So maybe the nature of that post wasn't a question about so much about conflicting religions, conflicting spirituality. And it could have been the nature of that, like mostly, like the core of that, like the foundation of that is it okay? I don't think that they were asking specifically, is it okay? I think maybe, like I said, I think that's more the energy overblast of it, right? You've got this, you know, this beautiful mother, you know, and I was thinking about this altar really hot, like really heavily in my mind. You know, this beautiful, ornate Mother Mary, you know, it's got 100 red votive candles everywhere and pictures of statues of her. And it's just this, like, this is in my imagination, okay? This beautiful altar. And then all of a sudden you get these light shards and then Yggdrasil sprout up. Just off the table comes the world tree. It's like, what do you do when that shit happens? And you're like, oh. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about, or I will say this, that if I did have to put a stop to, like, if it became a thing, the energy aspect of it, if that became a thing, and I'm like, you know what, it's that season, I'm really, you know, feeling, you know, like I want to pull the ruins out, right? I feel like maybe that could be 2 separate altars, right? You have a specific place to throw the ruins down, and then like even a casting cloth, you know, you wrap them in a cloth, right? It could be on your couch. You just unfold it and you just throw some down, you just cast some down, cast whatever the hell it is. And then you have your altar for Mother Mary so that the energies are basically in 2 different places in your brain. Okay, it's a way for your brain to compartmentalize. Okay, but then another thing is energy, right? So say you're blasting your spiritual practice with all this, like all these things, okay, whatever, and you're getting blasted by this energy and you can't seem to stick with your practice because of this overload, okay, then I like to think of the wheel of the year too. I knew that there were certain things that I couldn't do every day, that I knew needed to be in my spiritual practice though, okay? Like my crone time, like I do follow like a triple goddess aspect in my practice. So it's like, okay, I can't work with the maiden every day, right? Because then I would never adult. Ever. I would just want to lay around and, you know, draw and paint and never wash the laundry, right? So I knew that there were some aspects that I needed to put in my spiritual practice that I couldn't do every day, not even every week. So I tried to like write out the wheel of the year and then jot down okay, well, maybe for this 3 months, I could work with the maiden. And in the next 3 months, I work with the mother, and so on. Then add different other things, right? And then that kind of gives you a visual timeline. It gives me a visual timeline as to when I can do those things. Now, I'm not saying, like what happened to this person, it's not going to happen, where, I see a beautiful post on these wonderful handmade runes, and I'm like, oh, I really want to get my runes out. There's been a playlist of runes over on Nina's channel that I've been loving, and there has been a witchy YouTuber that doesn't put a lot of content out anymore, but she's in the process, going through the process now of making her own runes from trees that are on her property. And I thought, yes, I'm with you with this whole process. And so sometimes like that, you're going to get called, right? Through these videos and through the feeling and through the aesthetic. So I feel like the enthusiasm with your spiritual practice is important, and that's going to happen. Okay, so when you see certain Pinterest posts or videos or what have you, you're going to want to pull them out. But then you might be able to do it in a different space. And then you still might be able to devote a time of the year where that could be your rune time. And then you have Mother Mary time. Like, after that, right, you have those devotional times that you plug in throughout the year. And then you have a wheel of the year. You can plug in those as well, right? And because devotion to me literally means schedule it out. Schedule your spirituality out. If I were to put a definition on devotion, it would be that you need to form a habit with it, right? Like, it's a commitment, so it needs to be on a schedule. So I do think having some sort of written record of, like, the wheel of the year or whatever calendar you have, maybe plug some things in, that all the things that you're interested in, and devote some times on the wheel of the year for those things. And then that way you might not feel like, I want to get all my stuff out at once. You'll have it in the back of your mind. You're like, you know what? In about 6 months, that'll be, I can get out my runes and really play with them just like they are, right? So that makes your brain back here work. Like, you're like, oh, that's beautiful, and I like being on this journey with you, but I'm gonna wait for my time or whatever. I do feel like all that you do on your spiritual path are stones for your temple. I mentioned in one of my very first videos I ever put out that your body, okay, not even your physical body, your entire thing, 100% your body is a temple, okay? And I envision stones starting at my feet and working up, right? And I'm slowly building the temple. Now, I read a very awesome post a while ago. I don't even know if I would be able to find that damn blog, but if I do, I'll link it. This person talked about building your temple, like, over time in your imagination. Wherever you need to be. Do you need to be at the ocean? Do you need to be in the forest? Do you need to be on a cloud? Like, whatever. Wherever you feel in nature resonates with you. Mine's definitely, I'm an air sign. I am an air sign, so I'm out with the dirigibles, And I feel like wherever in your imagination, okay, because I use visualization a lot. In your imagination, wherever you resonate. Okay, it could be a forest altar. It could be, you don't even have to have an altar, okay? I had no altar for about 10 years, and it didn't do anything to my practice. My journals I would probably consider my journals a big altar space for me. So, I do want to say that, like, in your visualization technique, this one particular blog I wrote or read talked about the importance of going within, okay, in your meditation visualization techniques that you do, and over time build. Now you've put the foundation on your stone altar, okay, in your forest grove, okay, or you've made a driftwood beach hut that's specifically for devotionals on your little bitty beachy area, okay, and whatever draws you in aesthetically, like go to your Pinterest page or wherever, Google, and which images do you resonate with? Those beautiful digitally altered witchy spiritual like images, which ones do you resonate with? That's an excellent way for you to kind of figure out where you need to be. There's a lot of quizzes too that are so fun. But anyway, so over time you build stuff, okay? Like today I'm bringing a bowl. That'll be my water vocation, right? And then tomorrow I'll bring some candles, whatever. Like, you don't have to do this every day, but this person's blog was just so fluid about you being the temple, you using visualization techniques to make it happen, okay? And the way they worded it in this blog was, by using these visualizations to make your temple in whatever setting you want, you're personifying the temple that is you. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Okay, let's just get into some more stuff here, okay? As a solo practitioner, I am not in a coven, I am not in a sisterhood, I am not in a brotherhood, I am not in a clan, okay? And whatever else is there. As a solo practitioner, I do feel that I can follow whatever I need to follow to keep the commitment of devotion to my spiritual path. Back to that Instagram post, if that post was about conflicting religions, conflicting spiritual paths, okay, even if they're not religious, then how do you combat that, right? And in my opinion, I can only give you an opinion about solo practicing because that's all I've ever known. So with that being said, if you are actually using rules and guidelines from a society, magical order, whatever, that has certain rules about giving out those secret teachings, then yes, I do consider that disrespectful. Like I said, I can only give you what me as a solo practitioner does. And devotion equals devotion equals devotion. In whatever religion or spiritual path, either one you're on, okay? Either, both, whatever path you're on, it's just important to have that commitment and to feel that connection with whoever the divine is to you. That's the point, right? And it's about expanding mind, body, spirit, right? Expand all of it. And say to the people out there, if you know what post I'm talking about, y'all's comments, some of them made me cry, some of them made me feel so happy, some of them, none of them were negative. It was just, there was so much positive acceptance that I felt it. And I think that may be why I keep going back, because I just felt so inclusive to all the people. It just felt like we were all standing in a room together, and that this person was asking this question, and then all of a sudden we all start chattering about it. Like, oh yeah, and there's a lot of pats on the backs, and I feel that, right? And I wanted to share that with all of you. And however you want to devote, okay? Devotion could be journaling, it could be lighting a candle, it could be the most minuscule thing. But if you can form that into a habit, the most smallest thing, if that's all you can do, you know, to commit to, that's enough. Whatever is enough. If you feel an energy overload, it is nice to get back to ground, right? It's best to ground yourself, to reevaluate your spiritual path, even like turn it on its axis. Journal about what would happen if you just broke down your Mother Mary altar and put up a ruin altar. Do you have space for multiple altars? Like, whatever. Do you need an altar at all? Those are questions you can ask yourself to expand your practice, to expand it all. To close, I want to say that I did try to research some things with this, but devotion's in here. That's not something you can research. But one little FYI before I leave you is the word altar. I want to tell you the etymology of it. It comes from a Latin word, altus, meaning high. It's pretty cool, right? Now, high in this case means like a raised area meant for ritual, okay? But your altar can be anything nowadays, okay? This was back then. But I thought that was so profound. It makes me think of the Thoth deck. The princesses, they all have like stone altars. If you go back and look at that deck, they all have stone altars in the princess court card. And it makes me think of that. These princesses that are / priestesses, right? In their own right. And so, that's really interesting, right? And like I said, I just wanted to come on here for a minute and talk about devotion. And like I said, I can only give you what I think. And I think that if I want to have something in my kitchen, if I want to have something for Mother Mary, a little bitty reading cloth that I open when I feel like doing the runes. But then also I have had, times in my practice where I felt overloaded, right? Or I get gung-ho and I'm like, yes, I want to do it all. And then I can't, Next thing I know, I'm back there taking a nap. Or down in a whole bag of cookies, right? Whatever. So, devotion is what you make of it in here. And that's what's most important. Be you, be unique, and be 100, be true to yourself. So, okay, so I hope to see all y'all again. Much love.